Today's video is going to be about how do you round a number to any place on a vertical number line. So let's say, for example, that you have to round 14,372 to the greatest place value. Well, the first question you should ask yourself is, well, what is the greatest place value? Well, if you're looking at 14,372, it would be the 10,000s place. So I would tell the students to underline what the greatest place value is, or what place are you rounding to, and in this case, it'd be the 10,000s place. Then off to the side, you're going to draw a vertical number line. Now, these number lines should not be new. They should have been taught how to round using a number line last year. You're going to put 3 lines in to start with, one at the top, one at the bottom, and one in the middle. I make the one in the middle longer. The top line there is your upper end point. And then the bottom line would be your lower end point. And then the middle line would be your midpoint, what's halfway between your 2 endpoints. So if I'm rounding 14,372 to the greatest place value, well, the closest 1,000 to 10,000, to 14,372 would be 10,000. That would be your low point. And then I would just add a 10,000 to that to get my upper end, which would be 20,000. And then the middle point would be 15,000. Another way to look at this is if you looked at it as what's in between to find that middle point. You could look at it as what's in between 10 and 20. Well, 15 is in between 10 and 20. So then all you would have to do is add the comma, and then just add on those 3 zeros. Then what you have to do is look back at your original number, this 14,372, and ask yourself, is it bigger or smaller than your middle point? So for us, that would be 15,000. Well, 14,372 is less than 15,000, so I would put it down here, and I would actually write 14,372, and that would round down because it's closer to that 10,000 to 10,000. So 14,372 is about 10,000. But let's look at another one. They're not always going to be in the greatest place value. So let's look at one like this. Round 216,372 to the thousands place. In 4th grade, they can be given any place to round to. So again, I'm going to look at that number, that 216,372. I'm going to draw a line underneath that 6 in the thousands place to remind myself that that's where we're rounding to. Then I'm going to draw my vertical number line, and I'm going to draw my 3 lines. Now, when I'm rounding this number where I'm not rounding the greatest place value, I'm rounding one of the other places, I tell the kids that everything in front of that place stays the same. So the 2 and the 1, the 2 in the 100,000s and the 1 in the 10,000 would stay the same. So I'm just going to write that down here at all 3 of my points there. What does change is that thousands place. It's either going to stay the same, so I'm going to put a 6 here, or it's going to go up to the next 1,000, which would be that 7. That's 7. And then I would put a 6 here and then a comma. Now, what comes after these commas is what's important. Everything behind that 6 is going to become a 0. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now, my middle point is going to be slightly different because it has to be halfway between 216,000 and 217,000. So halfway between 216,000 and 217,000 is 216,500. 5 is always halfway. Now, I'm going to look at my original number, that 216,372, and I'm going to compare it to my middle number. It's less than, so I'm going to write it down here, and it's going to round down to that 216,000. Now, let's look at another one, maybe one that's not so large. Let's say round 3,681 to the hundreds place. So I'm going to start by writing that number out. 3,681. I'm going to underline the hundreds place to remind myself where I'm rounding to, and I'm going to draw my number line. And I'm going to draw my 3 lines here. I got to make my middle point longer. Okay, that 3 is not going to change, so I'm going to write that 3 down. Now, that 6 will and may or could change. So I'm going to have a 6 down here at my low end, and the next 100 would be a 7. And the middle point, I would just write that 6. Now everything behind that 6 will become a 0. So I'm going to add 2 zeros here, and then 2 zeros here. And of course, in the middle point, I'm going to put a 5 and then a 0. Now I'm going to look back at my original number here, this 3,681. I'm going to compare it to my middle point here, and it's bigger than it, so I'm going to write it up here above the middle point. And because it's bigger than my middle point, it's going to round up to 3,700. And that is how you round using a vertical number line.